What's up, everybody? Jimmy, Time with Steel back with you. And today, I need a little bit of an American V8 in my life. I need to take a break from the old DeLoreans. I'm excited to have this car in the shop. This is my good friend Carl's car. Say hi, Carl.
What's up?
Carl and I have been friends for a long time. Went to flight school together. We were roommates. And we're about to trick this thing out. This car's his baby. He's had it. Man, this thing's got a wild story. 89? 99. But basically he had a black GT that he wrecked, bought a 4-cylinder LX and converted all the black GT stuff over, right? Yeah. And then over the course of the many years of paychecks improving and everything else, it's got a really awesome custom Jaguar red on it. The whole interior's done. The motor's awesome. Still got a 5.0 in it. It's got subframe connectors, a whole bunch of stuff already done to it, but really the only thing it had left to bring it into modern century is suspension, brakes, stuff like that. So Carl went and spent a whole bunch of stuff. We got kmember, we got a tubular kmember, control arms, we got Moser axles, 5-lug conversion. We got some 17s. We're gonna get rid of the old 16 ponies and go to some 17, I think Type R style wheels. Well, here's the list. The Foxy Fox on the fridge. Kmember, spindles, coilovers, control arms, shocks, new steering rack and shaft. What is the steering rack off, Carl? A later Mustang?
Yeah, it's from an 04 GT.
04 GT, and then we got throw-up bearings making noise, so we're gonna fix that. New clutch cable, full Wilwood disc brake kit, parking cables. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other little stuff, but that's for now. I'll bring you along for the ride, and stay tuned. Situation update. There's Carl. K-member is gone. Was way more of a pain in the ass than it should have been. Just like everything with cars, but
35-year-old car.
there it is. Original K-member is out. The original body bolts that go here, 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 and here to the unibody were the hardest part. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward, but these guys just did not want to come out. But you can see it's gone. The motor's being supported by a cherry picker and backed up by a jack. Really the only thing is you got to disconnect from the car, the steering shaft, and the power steering lines. Everything else comes apart with the K-member. All right, stay tuned. Welcome, day 2, morning of. Time to start putting the new steering rack, K-member, motor mounts, suspension, brakes, all of the things back in the car. All right, so we are at the point of getting ready to put the new rack in. So before we get to this point, we had to suspend the new motor mounts in the car, transfer the new steering rack to the K-member, put the reinforcement bar on the back of the K-member, drop it because of the aftermarket oil pan, so it's got some spacers on it. And then we have to transfer the hydraulic feed and return power steering lines from the old rack, which is easier to do with the rack off the K-member. So we did that prior. We have it loosely bolted to the K-member. Now we're at the point where we're gonna lift the K-member up into the car and go from there. Okay, so K-member's in, and while we're talking about it, every single aftermarket company out there, if you're listening, your customers hate it when you don't include hardware. You spend $1,000 on a piece of equipment, it needs to come with new hardware. Hell, if you're gonna spend I would rather you charge me an extra $100 so that I don't have to deal with 40-year-old hardware. Like the fact that you expect a new kmember to go into a 40-year-old car with its original hardware is asinine. Fix it. Anyhow, it's in. And for those of you that are doing it on your own, problems that we ran into. He's got an aftermarket oil pan, so initially the brace doesn't clear, but it's just a spacer thing, so we'll fix that. Getting the rack in is easy, or the kmember in is easy except for the steering shaft. On this car, the steering shaft was corroded and wasn't pushing into the column like it's supposed to. So we had to drop the rack back out the first time, tap it with a hammer to break the corrosion loose to get the column to move. Put it back in. But now it's in. But now we need to get all new hardware because the original hardware that came out of the actual subframe is thrashed after 40 years. So nice, pretty expensive part. New rack, waiting on hardware. But definitely install the rack to the kmember first. That saves time. It's a lot easier, especially because you can get those hydraulic lines in a lot easier that way. And the steering shaft is really the only thing. But yeah, it's in the car, loosely mounted, and we'll get new hardware in like 3 days and final mount it and then bolt everything else to it. Alright, well, I'm not a Fox body guy, but crack in the torque box, apparently this is common, Carl?
Yeah.
So I went ahead and stop drilled it. This car's already been reinforced too. Has the plates welded in it and all that stuff, so I'll just end up cleaning this, welded it, and then I'll add a plate of metal on there to reinforce it and it'll be fixed. But good thing we found it now. For now we just stop drilled it to keep the crack from spreading until we fix it. Alright, kmember's in. We used enough old hardware to get the motor actually bolted back in the car. Well, I'll swap the old hardware out when the new hardware comes in. Steering system is installed. Carl's working on dropping the sway bar so we can put new sway bar bushings in because that is no bueno. And then while he's doing that, I'm starting to work on the back end of the car. I got the diff pulled. He's got a new diff cover, all new bolts, and we got to pop the stock axles out. We'll put some Moser axles in. Found the Found one torque box crack on the driver's side, and then we inspected the passenger side, and it's actually got a crack too. So, you know, unibody drag race cars. I'll get that welded up and fixed. We're cooking with grease. All right, I hadn't taken a Fox body axle apart before, so I had to do a little Googling, but this is actually really simple. There's a bolt that holds the center pin in the diff. You take that bolt out, pops the pin out, and then there's a C-clip on each side. This is what it looks like. Just a center pin, a bolt, 2 C-clips, and then you just got to push the axles in to release the C-clips, which you've already done. Carl, go ahead, pull that beautiful bean footage. There it is.
Behold.
Behold! We got some beautiful Mosers, and the reason we're doing this is strength, and also to convert to a 5-lug. So this car still had its 4-lug axles. So he bought some stronger Moser. Okay, yeah, but they're 5-lug, they're stronger, pretty. We got to put the cool Moser sticker on there so everybody knows when you break a C-clip and
it flies out.
Hey everybody, that's the end of episode 1. My buddy Carl had to go home for a few days, so we'll get back to the Foxy Fox fix, and we'll bring you along in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.